Okay. Poof, that was a lot of info that Melanie just gave us in that video right before this. So hold on. Let's take a look here at what we've got here in lesson 11 or level 11 here. Okay. So I'm looking at this. It says here start screen, left screen, import screen, new screen. Okay. So notice code versus design. So get familiar with that. Okay. Right now we're going to be in design mode. All right. So then as I start to move my cursor around, I haven't hit run yet. It looks like, all right, so this is one image here. Then we've got label 1, which is in this area. There's this left button. There's nothing here. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So before we do anything, our goal is going to be we're going to add another button to the screen that says right, just like this one says left. And the ID is going to be called right button. So what do we got to do first? And we're doing baby steps, so don't let your head get overwhelmed. In design mode, we're in design mode. Drag in a new button. So you look over here at your toolbox, the very first one. Drag a button. So I'm going to click on this and drag it in here. Okay. Hey, by the way, if you have a mouse, whether it is a corded one or a wireless one, now that we're beyond Unit 2, it's going to be really handy to have that, especially because some of your Chromebooks, the touchpad is starting to get desensitized, not working right, and not sensing things correctly because it gets used so much. So if you have a mouse, that would be great. All right, so we've got it in there. Okay, position it and resize it. So hold on. Let's get this button. Let's get a little bigger. Boop. Notice I can kind of line it up and then just kind of drag it. Notice what's nice is it lets me drag it both left or right, or I should say down or right, so I can get both height and width set at the same time. Okay, so I think I've got it positioned and resize it. Then set its ID. So right now over here in this workspace, instead of calling it button 1, let's call it right button. Now, you may or may not have noticed this. When they name things, typically we don't leave spaces, all right? That's one of the things you discovered when you were naming images and website stuff. Don't leave spaces when you're naming things. So they use something called camel case typing, which means you're going to capitalize the first letter of the words that you're smushing together. So notice I go capital R for right, capital B for button. Okay? You don't have to do that. It just, honestly, on your eyes, it makes it easier to read. So I'm going to do it this way. Text, so instead of just calling it button, we're going to call it right. Okay. Boop. So we've set its ID, we've set its text, and then its background color. Now notice we're doing this in the design mode. And that's because then we don't have to have code showing up. It's just the default on how it's going to look to start with. If you want things to change, then we can put that on there. All right, so let's come down here to say background color. They've got this color, and it's basically what we can do. We can put whatever color we want. Okay, so pick something. I'm going to come down here. Oh, orange, you know, I like purple. Maybe something that's kind of blue. A little more purpley. I like that. Okay. All right. And then, oops, the other thing it said, ID, text, background color, font size. Here we go in pixels. Well, gosh, what was this guy? Kind of big. Well, let's go Let's go about 24. That's not big enough. Notice it changes it immediately so you can kind of see. All right, and if we start using the arrow to go up, that looks pretty close. I'll say 30. Okay, sweet. Okay, cool. Now you'll notice as you're working here, it doesn't necessarily have a place where you just kind of save it. All right, it's just once you click on it, it's just there, kind of like a Google document or things. It's just there until you go and change it. So I think we've hit all of the elements that they needed us to. We can go back into code mode and just hit run and see, look at that. It's purple like we wanted it. It says right. I think we're good. Don't worry about anything in this stage. Here's the design portion of it, and we can see things there. That's the right button. Cool. All right, let's cruise right along on to level number 12.